Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Mrs. Edwards, and today I'm going to be reading to you for Literary Day a couple of Halloween books that I think you'll enjoy. The first book that I'm going to read to you is called She Wanted to Be Haunted. Can everybody see that? This book is by Marcus Ewert, and it's illustrated by Susie Garamani. That's a big name, huh? All right. She wanted to be haunted. Clarissa was a cottage. I want you to take a look at her. See her? Clarissa was a cottage, adorable and pink. Her painting was bright and sparkling. Her windows seemed to wink. Daisies grew around her. Squirrels scampered on her lawn. Life was just delightful, and it made Clarissa yawn. See, her father was a castle, looming on a crag, whipped by winds and cloaked in clouds, lit just by lightning jag. Vampires dwelt within him, waltzing silently in halls, bats above, cold crypts below, and red stains on the walls. Take a look. There's her father. Her mother, on the other hand, was a witch's hut. Snakes dangled from her rafters. Her pots held who knows what. Rats and frogs and spells and smells. An old skull on a shelf. More creepy than the witch within was the hut herself. Take a look. Take a look. But Clarissa had a doorbell and a welcome mat. Wind chimes tingled, jangled. You can't get less cool than that. And unlike both her parents, Clarissa wasn't host to anybody scary, not even one wan ghost. I'm lonely, she admitted. I'm lonely and I'm bored. I'm just so ordinary. No wonder I'm ignored. If only I were haunted, I'd never be alone. But look at me, I'm cheerful. I've got to change my tone. So that cheerful Clarissa doesn't want to be cheerful. I've got to look less friendly. I've got to look less fun. I'm sick of all this daylight. I've got to block the sun. Here she is planning her scheme to be scary instead of nice. She went to see her father to ask him for some clouds. I need a veil of gloom, Dad, and shadows that enshroud. Of course I'll give you clouds, dear. But may I add advice? It's okay to be yourself. There's nothing wrong with nice. A little gloomier and scarier at Dad's castle. Clarissa thought it over, but left with clouds in tow. Back at home, she took each cloud and hung it up just so. Soon her skies were gray and grim, a drear, forbidding sight. Who on earth would feel at home? A ghost or monster might. But oh, poor Clarissa, she'd made her plans all in vain, 'cause what clouds bring us isn't friends. Here's her clouds. What clouds bring is rain. Silver strands came streaming down for 7 days or more. All it did was make Clarissa cuter than before. Honeysuckles twined around, roses grew in bunches, birds swam in her bird bath, and then shared poolside brunches. She longed to have her clouds back, but they had all dissolved. She was sadder than before, but also more resolved. So she has all this happiness and nature and a beautiful rainbow, which is not particularly scary. She ran to see her mother, to ask her mom for stench. Some smell just one whiff of which would make one's nostrils clench. Mom, I need an odor that drives living things away. How else will I be a house where ghosts would want to stay? Of course I'll help you, honey, but this is what I think. A true friend like you likes you because you're you, not because you stink. Here's Mom giving her advice. But Clarissa was determined, and so her mom pitched in. Here's a smoking bottle that I won once from a gin. Unstopper it when you get home, and out will pour a reek. Normal kinds of creatures will be gone within a week. There's the gin in the bottle with the stinky vapor. Clarissa took the bottle, forgetting to say thanks. She raced home excitedly, a shiver in her planks. She uncorked the bottle and soon was wreathed in fumes. Nasty, noxious vapors billowed all throughout her rooms. Oh my, look, it's even coming out her mouth. Oh my goodness. But nothing died, nor sped away, though the grass did turn brown. And who was drawn toward the stink? All the dogs in town. They rolled around adorably as doggies like to do. Instead of ghost, fur filled the air, and lots of slobber too. I give up, Clarissa cried. I'll never get a ghost. I'm not remotely scary. I'm just unkempt at most. Though I've tried to change myself, I've only made things worse. Flowers, birds, and darling dogs. It's like some kind of curse. Here come all the doggies. I guess doggies like stinky smells. The cottage took a deep, deep breath. Then she softly sighed. Could she live a happy life without a ghost inside? Could she squash her longing for a special, special friend? Either way, she knew her spooky plans had hit an end. Clarissa took another breath. Then she loudly said, Listen, everybody, I've done with the undead. Since no ghost wants to stay with me, I'll try something new. Pretty things can live here now, including all of you. Hooray, hooray, Clarissa, the gathered creatures cheered. But through that throng from the back, a pathway slowly cleared. So here she is making her pronouncement. Down that path a pony paced with golden hooves and horn. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? All the sun shone upon a snow white, say it with me, unicorn. I invited prettiness, Clarissa sadly thought, so I guess that's pretty much exactly what I got. Here comes the unicorn. Look, you even see that sparkling unicorn. All the doggies are excited. We've got a rainbow. This does not look very scary. But sometimes life has funny plans that we cannot predict. The unicorn was vicious. He bit and spat and kicked. What? He chewed up all the flowers and then tore up the lawn. He ran at creatures with his horn till they all were gone. Well, I guess not all unicorns are nice after all. This one sounds pretty naughty. Even has kind of a mean look in his eye, doesn't he, boys and girls? Look at this. He's scaring all those sweet, fluffy puppy doggies away. Oh my gosh. Clarissa's shocked. Clarissa's never bored now. Her best friend is a brute, and she can be herself at last. Horrible, yes, and cute. And Clarissa just keeps wondering to herself, boys and girls, how can I be my spooky self if I'm always so darn cute? Later on, I want you guys to talk about what you think the theme of this story is, and if you think Clarissa maybe learned a little lesson about herself. My second book that I want to read to you is by Teague. He's one of my favorite authors, boys and girls. He writes the best stories, and he always has the same boys and girls in his stories, and I just love following them through their adventures. So here we are again. You probably know Wendell, Floyd, and Mona from other stories, and let's find out what one Halloween night brings these friends together to do. All right. Another fun story. On Halloween, Wendell, Floyd, and Mona were walking home from school when a black cat crossed their path. "Don't pet it," Floyd cried Wendell. "Don't you know that black cats are bad luck?" "That's just an old wives' tale," Mona said. "Besides, what could happen?" Well, we know whenever characters say what could happen, we know something pretty important is going to happen. Wendell merely shook his head. Anything can happen on Halloween. Here we go. There's the black cat. And there's Wendell, Floyd, and Mona. In fact, something did happen as soon as they got home. First, Wendell discovered that his mad scientist costume had turned pink in the wash. This is definitely a bad sign, he thought. Then Floyd found out that he had to take his sister Alice trick-or-treating with him. "Pirates don't have little sisters," he complained. Oh my goodness. A pink mad scientist and a bad mean pirate with a little bunny sister? Not too scary. Worst of all, Mona's mother insisted that she go dressed as a fairy princess. "I look ridiculous," Mona protested. "Nonsense," said her mother, and handed her a magic wand. They all felt gloomy that evening as they set out trick-or-treating and hoped that no one would see them. It kind of seems like they would have fit right in Clarissa's little cheerful cottage, doesn't it? But they wanted to be in her dad's gloomy castle or her mother's witch's hut, probably. But their troubles were far from over. At some houses, they were surprised with tricks instead of treats. Oh my goodness, a clown with his crazy balloon treats, or balloon tricks. Yikes. At other houses, the treats were weird or awful. Soon their bags were full of candy with names like broccoli chews, sweet and sauerkraut, eggplant fizzlers. "I can't believe this is happening," Wendell grumbled. They're very disturbed by their treats. How many of you would like those treats on Halloween night? I don't think I see any hands. At that moment, a screech of laughter came from down the block. Floyd peered through his spyglass and groaned. "It's Leona Fleabish and her nasty friends." "Not them," Mona squeaked. "They're the worst." "We'd better run for it," cried Wendell. Floyd led them down a hidden path through the woods behind the old Deedle house. But soon, Leona's cheering voice rang out. "We see you. You can't hide." The chase was on. Oh no. What's going to happen? Finally, out of breath, they tried to slip behind some trash cans at the end of a narrow alley. But Floyd ducked a moment too late, and Alice's rabbit ears gave them away. Leona squealed with delight. "Yo-ho-ho! I see something funny. It's Pirate Floyd and his baby bunny." The witches roared with laughter and slapped each other on the back. They didn't make it in time. And the witches are laughing. Floyd winced, but as he drew his saber, his face lit up with a pirate's grin. First, he kept the witches at bay so his friends could carry little Alice to safety. Then, growling like a movie pirate, he swung out of reach on an overhanging tree limb, turned a quick flip, and somersaulted backward over the fence. The witches are quite shocked and probably quite amazed. Aren't these illustrations awesome? I didn't know you could do that, Mona said. Floyd looked surprised. Neither did I. Come on, shouted Wendell. They're right behind us. They ran until they found themselves in an even stranger part of town. It's pretty creepy around here, muttered Floyd. Wendell suggested they hide in the graveyard, but Mona scoffed. You've got to be kidding. No, it's perfect. They'll never follow us into a place like this. Beware of ghouls. Bum, bum, bum. Great artwork. Actually, the witches didn't mind the graveyard at all. We see you, Wendell, Leona crowed. What? What's wrong with Wendell? Let me think. He must be mad, because he's dressed in pink. The witches shrieked and hooted, laughing so hard they nearly cried. Let's look at these tombstones. Filbur Smoot, 1812 to 1877. Born grumpy, died in a bad mood. Travis Turby, not really dead. Even the black cat's eyes are kind of looking a little scary. For a moment, Wendell's face turned as pink as his smock. But then an idea began to brew. He reached into his mad scientist kit and started mixing potions. Drink this, he told his friends. It will make us invisible. At the word invisible, the witches roared even louder. But their laughter turned to puzzled yelps when Wendell, Floyd, Mona, and Alice suddenly disappeared. Look at the witches. What is happening? Look, they're vanishing. Let's look at some of our tombstones. Agnes Spoon, 1741 to 1862. Only the good die young. Butch Luby, bad, bad, bad. Horace Sneerley, 1809 to 1875. He won't be missed. By the time the potion wore off, the children were several blocks away. Everywhere they turned, haunted houses creaked and moaned. I've got a bad feeling about this, said Floyd. Can you make us invisible again? Asked Mona. Wendell nodded, but when he opened his mad scientist kit, it was empty. And suddenly, the witches were approaching. So there the kits are. They're no longer invisible. And here come the witches. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at them. Look at them. Before they could decide what to do, the witches were upon them. Leona cackled even louder. Just look over there. You'll see something scary. It's Tinkerbell Mona, dressed up like a fairy. The witches squealed and guffawed. They snorted and wheezed and rolled on the ground. Mona waited until all the laughter died down. Then her eyes flashed. And suddenly, so did her magic wand. Now I've got a poem for you, she said, and pointed her wand straight at them. Ippity bibbity bobbity bode. Leona Fleabish, you're a, what do you think, boys and girls? Yep, you got it. She's a toad. Let's find out if she really turns into a toad. Instantly, a bolt of white light shot out from the wand, followed by a clap of thunder and a great puff of smoke. Oh, wow. The next thing they knew, Wendell, Floyd, Mona, and Alice landed right back on the corner where their evening had begun. There wasn't a witch in sight, and their bags were filled with wonderful, ordinary candy. Wendell stared at Mona's wand. How did you do that? She just shrugged. You said anything can happen on Halloween. Here they are. Interesting. Interesting. Later, they sat in Floyd's living room, sorting their candy and sipping cocoa. That's what my kids always did. Sat down on the living room floor, dumped out their bags of candy, and started sorting favorites, non-favorites, trading, and complaining if their dad or myself tried to grab one of our favorites if it was theirs too. You know, Floyd, said Wendell, you make a pretty good pirate. Thanks. You're a good mad scientist too, even if you are pink. But Mona was the best of all. She smiled. I guess being a fairy princess was okay. Still, I'm sort of glad it's over. Now we can all get back to normal. Wouldn't it be nice for all of us to get back to normal, boys and girls? There they are with all their loot. All that candy. After a while, Leona Fleabish even stopped being a toad. Looks like the magic spell is finally wearing off. How many of you have already planned and are wearing your special costumes today? I hope you're back in school, but if not, have a wonderful literary day, have a wonderful Halloween, and hopefully you'll be back at school nice and soon. Once again, boys and girls, I'm Mrs. Edwards. I miss all you beautiful students out there. Happy Literary Day, happy Halloween. Be great for your teachers, whether you're distance learning or in class, and have a marvelous, marvelous day. Goodbye.